Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's a little afternoon on the 12th of June. Hope you're having a good day. I put out a note a couple days ago that I was going to do a Facebook Live and answer questions that people might have. People have a lot of questions right now, a lot of comments, a lot of thoughts on what's happening in our city, what's happening in our country, what's happening in our state. So I printed some of them out. You guys sent me a bunch of questions. I get a lot of questions to an email address, mayor@siouxfalls.org. You can always catch me at that email address. And so wanted to answer some of those. Before I do that, I just want to be vulnerable for a real quick minute here. I'm a little late getting on this call because I just had a meeting with mom of one of the people who was incarcerated for the rioting and the aggravated assault and some of the issues that her son was involved in a couple weeks ago. It was a very heavy conversation. I share that with you because I'm trying to meet with some of these families, meet with some of the parents, meet with some of the youth to understand what's going on in our community and what the city needs to do better, what we've been doing well already to continue to handle, the topic of social justice reform and equity and equality in our city. And so we didn't get our conversation done. So I said, I gotta go. I need to jump on this call, and then I need to get back with you. So she's waiting out in my lobby, and we're going to have another conversation. So I don't mean to sound a little bit like deflated right now, but these are hard conversations to have, and they're difficult, and we're having them in our city. There's a lot of questions that people have. I should say a lot, but there are questions about justice reform, Sioux Falls PD, policing, that whole topic right now. So I want to talk a little bit about that. First thing that's important to start with in that whole conversation that's going on nationally is your Sioux Falls Police Department is one of the best police departments in the country. And statistically, we're one of the best police departments in the country. We are funded to the tune of about $220 per capita, per resident. So on average, each resident you pay in your taxes, about $220 of that goes to our PD, okay? Other cities, for instance, Minneapolis is north of 500. The national average is around 340 some. And so we are even 50% below the national average. So when you talk about funding, okay, and even a conversation of defunding, you have to use a common starting point to say, well, where are we funded already? And we have a very minimal amount of funding in our police department. And so cities that are calling for some of these actions to be taken, one, they're funded at higher levels a lot of times, and two, they have a history of challenges that they need to analyze and determine if defunding in that case is the right approach. I have been very vocal this past week and will continue to be vocal on the fact that simply jumping to the solution that defunding is the answer is very, very much a presumptive approach. Saying, okay, there's a challenge, we need to go straight to defunding law enforcement. And people will say, well, no, Mayor, the conversation is about reform and about change. I say, listen, I get that, and I subscribe to that, but then don't call it defunding, because then that instantly is a non-starter conversation for a lot of people. So messaging matters. It's important to have civil dialogue about this before jumping to conclusions and proposed solutions that haven't really even been vetted with all the right evidence and information. So that's my approach to this topic. We have, there's something going around, you maybe seen a campaign for something called 8 Can't Wait, a bunch of things that law enforcement officers and police departments are being asked to implement. I'm proud to say the city of Sioux Falls has implemented 6 of those in this 8 Can't Wait campaign. In fact, we could probably even stretch it and say we've implemented 7. And so it goes back to what I've talked about earlier, that our community resource officer program, our school resource officer program, our community ambassador program, the community policing that we've been doing for years is having an effect in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And the lowest common denominator right now in police departments is Minneapolis. People want to compare you to Minneapolis. We are not Minneapolis. We are Sioux Falls. And we have a great track record in this community. And I'm not going to let that get derailed. And so I'm very proud of our law enforcement. I'm very proud of our police department and the work that they do. And we're going to continue to have some conversations that will look at what reforms need to take place, what changes maybe need to take place with how we police. Just the conversation I just had now with the mother of one of those folks who was arrested at the riots. She has some concerns that she wanted to share with me, and I'm listening to those in terms of, okay, how do I need to put those into action with changes in our PD. Someone asked, the annual budget for our PD is, just so you know, it's $42 million. The city budget is $550 million. So about 8% of our city budget goes towards law enforcement. And of that 8%, 85% is for personnel, it's for people. Okay, it's for school resource officers, it's for narcotics detectives, it's for those things. So there's not a lot of fat to trim in that. That only leaves $6 million, that's non-personnel annually. And that's patrol cars, all right, that's equipment, that's things like that. So just being transparent, that's where the city sits on those things and where our budget sits. A lot of people ask how my family's doing through this process. My family's doing great. It's hard being the kids of the mayor and the wife of the mayor right now because of how nuts the world has been and how nuts my schedule's been, and it's been challenging. I'll be honest, and so I'm trying to be very intentional about finding time with my kids and finding time with my wife on a regular basis. Donna sent in a question, asked, can we get our street fixed? Okay, what happened to the money for the lifeguards at the city pools? I'll tell you, Donna, we did allocate money for lifeguards and for staffing, and we budgeted our pools to run at about a $1.3 million loss. Okay, so even the money that was budgeted, we were going to lose $1.3 million anyway. So the loss is just less. Basically, we're going to lose less money this year, so we don't have this slush fund money from pools that we'll be able to utilize. Let's see, COVID-19, I want to talk a little bit about that. Still a lot of questions and concerns about COVID. A metric that we're watching regularly, people ask, what metric are you watching to make decisions and determine what the actions we need to take are? For me, a metric that I'm watching very closely is the % positive rate. Okay, so essentially if we test 100 people and we have 3 positive cases, that's a 3% positive rate. And so the lower the positive rate, the better, because you can say, okay, it's kind of slowing down or it's dying off. A lot of people are looking at the total number of cases. Well, so if we have 10 new cases in Minnehaha County, it doesn't mean a lot if we tested 20 people. If we tested 20, we had 10, that's a 50% positive rate. That's very, very high. And so the % positive rate, something I share on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, I share the % positive charts and numbers every once in a while there. Another question, Alyssa, very timely, asked, when will Sioux Falls recognize Juneteenth as a holiday? Actually, I've done mayoral proclamations every year for Juneteenth. So Sioux Falls does recognize Juneteenth through a proclamation. The state of South Dakota does not. It's not an official holiday in our state or official day of observance. But I do plan on doing another proclamation this year for Juneteenth. I understand we might have a virtual Juneteenth celebration. If you don't know what Juneteenth is, which a lot of people I'm finding don't, you need to Google that, Juneteenth, and understand the history behind Juneteenth and the true kind of emancipation of slavery in our country couple of years after the Emancipation Proclamation, when slaves really found out that they were free. And so it's a holiday. It's a day of remembrance. It's an important day in the African American culture, and so that's why I'm always proud to honor that every year. Someone asked about school district and why is the school district cutting dollars in expenditures, I think COVID related. So important to understand that in Sioux Falls, the mayor does not have anything to do with the schools. Because I get asked about schools a lot. I get asked about changing school boundaries. I get asked about school funding. I get asked about diverting money from my budget to the school district. That's not how our government is set up in Sioux Falls. You have a school district, you have a school board. That's who controls the school district funds. Those come from your property taxes. So property taxes that you pay fund your schools and fund your counties, not the city. So I don't mean to sound kind of condescending, but I always get asked about the schools. I always have to say, listen, I'm not the schools. I'm also not the county. So, when you have problems with your marriage license or you have a problem with funding the teachers, like Seth just said, fund the teachers. It's not my budget, Seth. I don't fund teachers. I don't fund schools. So that is the state legislature controls teacher funding and local school districts, not the city of Sioux Falls. So very important point of clarification there. Kathleen, will we ever get a Trader Joe's? Tell you what, Trader Joe's, Cheesecake Factory, P.F. Chang's, all these places that people always like to bring up, they'll come here if they want to come here. If they like this market and they say, hey, there's enough of a market here for us to kind of hang a shingle and make money, they will come. And so all we can do is make the city attractive, grow our population base, make the city safe, make the city business friendly. That will hopefully recruit some of those businesses. So unfortunately, I can't just call Trader Joe's and say, hey, you should come to Sioux Falls. They need to contact us and say, hey, we're ready to come to Sioux Falls. And so hopefully that will happen. I know a lot of people like Trader Joe's. Paul says, what's one business you'd like to see in Sioux Falls that isn't here now? I love local small businesses, man. And so I would love, I guess, to see, I think we can always have room for another arcade. My kids love going to the arcade. We go to the arcade in the Western Mall all the time. So I think a big arcade would be incredible. So that would be good. Will there be a 4th of July parade? Some people have asked about that. Let's talk about that. There will not be a 4th of July parade this year, and there will not be events down at Falls Park like we've had in the years past. This is an unfortunate casualty of COVID. And so for a variety of reasons, that's just not going to be able to happen this year. But we do have some other activities that we're going to hopefully getting people to be involved in this year. And we're going to have a press release on that, I think later today, on some things you do to decorate your own house. We're going to have a virtual 5K run and so forth. Allie just talked about a splash pad on the west side. I do want to remind you the splash pad and the spray park on the east side at Pioneer Park. That is open, so that is a facility that is open. The pools simply are not feasible to have open this year for reasons I've unpacked in the past. But Midco is open as well as the splash pad. Kelsey, well, no, I'm going to go back to that one at the end. Let's see. Jacob says, what is one bold, daring, or innovative thing the city of Sioux Falls is doing to make it unique? I'll tell you, one thing I think we're doing that's bold is our Sioux 52 mentorship initiative. And if you don't know what that is, you can go to sioux52.org. And that initiative is an effort to try and get 5,200 new mentors in the city of Sioux Falls by 2026. So if you want to talk about social reform, you want to talk about investing in people, you want to talk about building a better, more equitable community, it starts with you as individuals, you as citizens, you as taxpayers wanting to get involved and make your community better. It's not going to be all government programs. It's not going to be more taxes. It's not going to be defunding or refunding or anything like that. Those maybe be parts of the conversation. But the best thing you can do is invest in people. and spend time investing in people. That's it. And so Sioux52.org is an incredible initiative, mentorship initiative with a big goal of getting over 5,000 new mentors in this city by 2026. So that's one thing I'd like to really see us continue to push and move forward with. I think it's bold. Mike asked, a lot of people ask about our annual landfill pass. Okay, when you can go to the landfill, take a load of junk out to the landfill. Those are coming out July 1, Mike. So hang in there a little bit. We'll get you your landfill pass July 1. I think it's able to be used for the next 6 months after you get it. So you can clean out the garage, clean out everything you have. We had to delay that a little bit because of COVID and some other things, but those landfill passes are coming. And so I think, that's a lot of the themes of some of these questions here. Maybe I'll just close with a couple general thoughts. And that is, please remember that you live in an incredible city, okay? And it's easy for me to say that, but you do. We have low unemployment coming into COVID. We're gonna have low employment coming out. We are fiscally strong coming into COVID with strong reserves and low debt per capita. We'll be fiscally strong coming out. We've never had complete closures of any businesses in this city through COVID. Many have manually chose to do that, but because of that, our economy is going to be stronger coming out. So we are in a good position as a city right now to be weathering these storms. You also have to remember the hearts of this people are really, really good. Don't let some bad actors ruin the Sioux Falls brand that we all enjoy and that we love. There is good momentum happening right now in the community with myself and conversations that I'm having with other community leaders, specifically in our communities of color, and trying to understand what the city can do to make sure we remain a very inviting and equitable city. And those have been strong discussions, man. I'm just really proud of some of the leaders that are really stepping up in this city. And so it's a great town, it's a great city. You live in a great country. Don't forget it. And don't get discouraged by all the national news, all the federal rhetoric, all the fighting. We don't have that here. We try to keep that out of here. We try to make this a great place to live, to work, and to try to ignore some of that chaos that you see on the national level. And I think we do a good job of that. It's going to be a fun summer. It's a different summer because of some of the stuff we're having to do differently, but it's going to be another fun summer. So thank you guys for staying positive right now. You need an attitude. Someone always tells me, Paul, you need an attitude of gratitude. And right now, you need to keep that attitude of gratitude. Remember everything we have great. All right? Don't focus on the negative. Focus on the positive. And focus on what a great city we live in. So, all right, you guys. That's all I got. Have a blessed weekend. Enjoy it. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.